That movie sucked.
I kind of liked it.
Movie Night Crew Network.
Harry, 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 said Lockhart, reaching out and grasping his shoulder. I understand. Natural to want a bit more once you've had that first taste. And I blame myself for giving you that, because it was bound to go to your head. But see here, young man, you can't start flying cars to try and get yourself noticed. Just calm down, all right? Plenty of time for that when you're older. Yes, I know what you're thinking. It's all right for him. He's an internationally famous wizard already. But when I was 12, I was just as much of a nobody as you are now. In fact, I'd say I was even more of a nobody. I mean, a few people have heard of you, haven't they? All that business with he who must not be named? He glanced at the lightning scar on Harry's forehead. I know. It's not quite as good as winning Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award 5 times in a row, as I have. But it's a start, Harry. It's a start. What's up, potheads? Welcome to the restricted section, in which a bunch of nerds with potty mouths reread the Harry Potter series for the umpteenth time and discuss how the story and its themes have stayed with a generation into adulthood. Thank you for listening. If you haven't done the reading, don't worry, we did it for you. Here's what we are talking about today. Chapter 6, Gilderoy Lockhart. This chapter starts with a howl. A howler, that is. On their first breakfast in the Great Hall, Ron receives a howler from his mom in the mail, screaming at him about the whole flying car debacle. The Golden Trio has their first day of lessons. They go to herbology, but before Harry can step inside, Gilderoy Lockhart pulls him aside and gives him a talking to about pursuing fame recklessly, obviously grossly misunderstanding Harry's intentions. When they get to herbology class, they're working on mandrakes that day, which is like a baby plant that can bring people back from being petrified or cursed. In transfiguration class, it becomes quickly apparent that Ron's wand, which got broken in their encounter with the Whomping Willow, is simply not fucking okay. He can't do anything. During their lunch period, they go outside into the courtyard. We meet Colin Creevey, who super obnoxiously is like asking for a picture. And Draco shows up and starts making fun of Harry for this. And then Gilderoy fucking Lockhart overhears and comes at Harry and is like, Colin, why don't you take a picture of the two of us instead? And then is like, Harry, you know, I really saved you there. You can't go around asking for pictures. I helped you because I'm famous and you're not famous. He's literally so annoying. Colin, Draco, and Lockhart. That statement applies to all three of them. They go then to Defense Against the Dark Arts, where Professor Lockhart gives the class a quiz on himself. The only person who gets all the answers right is Hermione Granger, and he goes on to unveil this cage full of blue Cornish pixies, and he's like, we're gonna fight these guys. And then he sets them free, and his weird, bogus spell doesn't work, because nothing he does works, and he leaves. Everybody leaves, and Hermione just really casually immobilizes them and puts them back in their cage. The chapter ends with Ron being the first person to insinuate that perhaps Gilderoy Lockhart has not done all that he says he has done. You may remember that in last week's episode, I said that we were recording during a thunderstorm because we live in the Tidewater region of Virginia and it's hurricane season. So, what season is it? It's hurricane season. It was thunderstorming when we recorded the last episode, and it was thunderstorming when we recorded this episode. My guess is it will be thunderstorming when we record the next couple of episodes, because it is hurricane season. And Mother Nature stops when Mother Nature wants to. Also, global warming, so maybe we should do something about that. I don't know. For now, just listen to this podcast about Harry Potter. Welcome to the restricted section. I'm your host, Christina Khan. I just learned today how to do an introduction for a podcast episode. Thank you. I'm very proud of myself.
Did you go full WikiHow or did you do a YouTube tutorial?
I just started listening to other podcasts for the first time ever, and I've noticed that they just start by saying the name of the podcast and then the name of themselves, which is an interesting approach, but I'm liking it so far.
It makes sense, really, when you think about it. If you think about it at all, really, it makes sense.
I don't know. We lose all the character of you saying, okay, we're starting now 7 times in a row.
Oh, fuck you, Brooke. How are you doing today?
Doing fucking fantastic. It's been storming all day. I got legitimately startled by thunder for the first time in years.
Yeah.
My poor pug has been having a panic attack consistently throughout the entirety of today.
Oh no. Mary-Peyton, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's Wednesday, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So we've made it halfway through the normal work week.
Said with so much confidence.
Right? We've done it.
And our very special guest today is Jason Caldwell. And Jason, we are so glad to have you today. If you could start by just telling us a little bit about your very hairy history, how you know the podcast, and tell us what Hogwarts house you're in.
Oh, yeah, sure. I actually read a Harry Potter book, the first one, and I listened to the rest of them. It was great. I was working a night shift at my job, and I was able to listen to them all the time. I've knocked them out really quick, so it was good. The guy who does the voices for the audiobooks, I can't remember his name, is a real famous, I think an Emmy award winner.
This narrator is Stephen Fry, by the way, kids.
And his voicing is great. So if you've ever listened to the Harry Potter books, you know what I'm talking about. They're great. I am a Hufflepuff. I was shocked to find that out. I really was. But from what I know, it fits me, as I've been told by my beautiful wife.
And who is your beautiful wife?
My wife is Mary-Peyton, who is on this podcast constantly.
That's
Lucky
me.
guy.
That's me.
Hell yeah. Well,
so I'm a Hufflepuff married to a Slytherin. So.
Oh, same. I'm a Hufflepuff married to a Slytherin too.
Oh, awesome.
It's a little bit of like one's a cat, one's a dog situation.
Yeah.
I'm the dog.
Pretty accurate.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being here today. I'm very excited to have you on to talk about Gilderoy fucking Lockhart, the Wizarding World's greatest grifter. What a prick.
Let's just start with that.
Gilderoy Lockhart does not get half the amount of hate owed to him. Because on a scale of like Molly Weasley to fucking Voldemort, he is firmly sandwiched between Percy and Umbridge, and I do not think he gets the hate that he deserves for being in that slot.
I think he doesn't get a lot of the hate he deserves because he is one of the few people who gets what he is due in the end.
Umbridge gets carried off by trolls.
Oh yeah, you're right.
That's also pretty... Or centaurs.
By centaurs. Don't be dramatic.
Troll centaurs.
We're not going to get too much into exactly how shitty of a person Gilderoy Lockhart is because we are planning a whole bonus episode on our Patreon feed about Gilderoy Lockhart, the Wizarding World's greatest grifter. So if you're not already subscribed to our Patreon account, definitely hop over there for those exclusive bonus episodes. The last one we did was about Trans Wizard Harry Porber and the Bad Boy Poirot Loftus. Damn, I nailed that title. I'm so proud of myself. And our next one is going to be, Behind the Magical Bastards, Gilderoy Lockhart. So join us for that.
Amazing. I love that.
Thank you. I'm very excited. So we start this chapter on the first day of term. We start with the Howler.
The wizard's version of an all caps email.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point.
Not just all caps, but also reply all.
Yeah,
so
reply all.
Literally everyone can see it.
CC the whole office and tell you what an idiot you are.
Yes.
I like that it starts, so it's Mrs. Weasley screaming at Ron. Okay. So they go to breakfast and Errol falls into Hermione's beverage and he's carrying this red envelope and we don't know what it is. Harry doesn't know what it is, but Neville is like, dude, just open it. It'll be better. Like it'll be fine. It'll just get it over with. And so Ron opens this letter and starts screaming at him. It's Mrs. Weasley's voice. It starts in the middle of a sentence. That's my favorite part. Like, she's just so beside herself. She, like, isn't doing it properly. And I think if anyone has seen this movie, that scene stands out in your memory.
We were talking about this earlier at the dynamic of the ending of the letter, which we'll get to, I'm sorry, versus the book versus the movie, at the visual portrayal of the letter.
Oh, Yeah, the movie definitely, like, the howler really comes to life in a way that it, like, doesn't necessarily in the books. And yeah, it does a little, like, raspberry at the end, doesn't it?
Honestly, I feel like that would be better, low-key, to be yelled at physically by the letter, because then there's something to focus on that's not just you and the, like, screaming words of your mother in front of all of your friends. As a 12-year-old boy, I cannot imagine.
Yeah, just bury your head in your hands and pray.
Yeah, I love that it says people kept looking around for who was the owner of the howler, and all they could see was the crimson forehead of Ron, because he's like ducked down below the table.
My favorite moment that's not in the movies it like rips itself up. Here it bursts into flames, and I immediately thought of the like Arrested Development quote where she's just like, it just makes me want to set myself on fire. Like,
that's what I'm wondering, is there like more than one, like when you're creating a howler, do you get like different options of how to end it? Like you can end it with a raspberry if you're not that mad, or like you can end it by bursting into flames. You can end it by ripping yourself to shreds. Like, how angry are you?
It's a drama level, because wizards are all about the drama.
Drama.
And so it's a matter of how dramatic you really want to be with this.
Setting yourself on fire is pretty much as dramatic as it gets.
It definitely seems like the one in the movies. Just to be clear, we watched the movie literally last night.
Nice.
Because my sister was over. She's a year older than me. She's 34. And she's never read the books or seen the movies.
Wow.
Like,
that's like a rarity.
And I didn't know that until we were partway into the movie, and she was asking, she asked,
who's that kid with the glasses?
Yeah. She was like, so why are they being so mean to him? Because the movie, it starts with the Dursleys.
Yeah.
Or something like that.
Oh,
I see doing that weird stuff. And I was like, I just stared at her for a second. She was like, what? And I was like, oh my God. So it was really interesting to watch the second movie with her, because I think the second movie is so goofy. But anyways, my point was, in the movie, I definitely think you get to pick your type of howler, because it takes on also the very distinct shape of like a woman's lips too, as it's yelling at Ron. And I definitely didn't get that feeling from the book that it takes on any sort of shape. I just imagine this letter there and then sound emitting from it.
I don't think Molly would really want herself to like look comical like that. Like, she doesn't want to be origami. She wants to put the fear of God in her son right now.
How do we think a howler is made? Do we think that it's like a special like envelope that you just scream into? Do you think that we like write something with emphasis and the howler just kind of like brain melds?
No,
like,
I think Molly had to scream that herself for sure.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think you would like enchant a piece of paper so it starts listening to you, and then you would scream at it, and then you put it in like an enchanted envelope. Like you enchant the whole. Maybe you have to like buy a pack of howlers ahead of time. You just know you're gonna get mad later.
Just have some at the ready. I mean, if you have, what is it, like seven boys,
children? Yeah, you're gonna need a howler.
You're gonna need just like a lifetime subscription to just drop them off in stacks of 30 every month or so.
I bet Fred and George have gotten a howler before.
I imagine that Fred and George, if they've gotten howlers, and I'm sure they have, they would probably like gather their friends around to be like, oh, we got one. Like,
yeah, okay. That's probably true.
It probably stopped working for them after like maybe the second one.
Have you guys ever like, maybe this is just me, but have you ever had like one of your friends put their parents on speaker while their parents are doing something shitty, like unbeknownst to their parents?
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
Everybody listen round. I've had some, apparently I just have shitty friends. But like, I definitely had one friend in college whose mother had like a really, really thick Southern drawl. And she would say some pretty ridiculous things. So when she would call, it would go on speaker and we would mute it, because the stuff this lady said, she actually, my same friend, got out of like a bad nannying situation where she was living with the family in New Zealand. Her mom sent her the most amazing voicemail I've ever heard that included the line, "You give them Kiwi bastards a big old American Eagle yell."
Oh my God.
Which I love. I love everything about that.
At first, when you were telling the story, I was like, man, if I were a parent, I would hate that. If I found out that was happening, I would be so embarrassed and so angry. But then, like, obviously, you guys ended up being so impressed and, like, proud by her just, like, being so ridiculous and awesome. So,
Right.
All right. So after the Howler at breakfast, McGonagall goes around and passes out their term schedules. And the first thing they have of the day is herbology. So the Golden Trio walks down to the greenhouses, and Professor Sprout is there with Professor Lockhart, and they are coming back from bandaging up the Whomping Willow.
And we get this awesome description of Haley. I mean, Professor Sprout. I have to read this because literally I was like, this is Haley Simkus. This is Professor Sprout was a squat little witch. That's probably the one thing that you can't say.
She's
Squat
little.
little witch is little. Who wore a patched hat over her flyaway hair. There was usually a large amount of earth on her clothes, and her fingernails would have made Aunt Petunia faint. This is Haley's bog witch persona. Like,
Yes.
This is her.
I couldn't agree anymore. And disgruntled at being approached unexpectedly.
By a prick.
By a prick. Oh, God. Stay away, pricks. Haley doesn't want anything to do with you.
I wanted to say one thing real quick about the description of Hermione, because she's been mad at Harry and Ron since they arrived so carelessly at the beginning of the term. So it says earlier, as they're walking down to the greenhouses, at least the Howler had done one good thing. Hermione seemed to think they had now been punished enough and was being perfectly friendly again. Which is like such a Hermione thing, and I appreciate that as someone. When I read it, I was like, that is me. Like, if I think someone has not actually learned their lesson yet, I will not let go of something. Jason can tell you this. I will not let go of it until I feel like they really understand and feel what they've done.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever. I can say it, you can't. No, but it's true. Like, I just felt that. And that's such a Hermione thing. Like, she really just wants everyone to learn and to grow. She's always having to babysit.
She's lawful. She wants there to be justice served as well.
For sure. And
she
I
wants there to be
feel
remorse.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I appreciate that. Thank you, Hermione.
All right. So Professor Sprout has Professor Lockhart with her. And she's like, fuck this guy, let's go to class. And Gilderoy Lockhart is like, let me talk to Harry for 1 minute. Is that okay? And Professor Sprout like grunts, and he's like, great.
Literally, Gilderoy Lockhart comes in so hot as the actual embodiment of toxic masculinity, mansplaining plants to the herbology professor.
Mansplaining everything to everyone at all times.
But he's not mansplaining with actual knowledge. He's bullshitting his way
That's
through
the
it.
point of mansplaining.
Well,
Usually you know what
okay,
you're talking
well,
about, and they're just telling you again.
Right, I get it. But like, he literally
Brooke, you're kind of
doesn't know what they're
mansplaining to Jason right now.
Fair.
I'm just kidding.
I have an aggressive personality.
Yeah. Okay, cool. And I just feel that the persona he's trying to perceive, I forgot that word.
Portray.
Is so outside of what he could actually do. He bullshits so much. Anyway, he's a prick. I hate it.
He's all hot air.
Yeah. And his bullshitting, I feel like, has been building for so many years. He's written too many books about it. It's just like his bullshit level has gotten way too high. It's like so many years beyond what he's actually capable of.
Honestly, what ultimately happens to him when he loses his memory is like sweet, sweet release from the world he has built for himself. The only other option was to be disgraced. And so, like, at least the way he ends up, he's not disgraced. All right, let's move on. So Lockhart is like, come with me, Harry, my boy. He's like, I know I gave you the publicity bug back at Flourish and Blots, but you can't be flying cars. That's crazy talk. So, like, it'll come. Don't worry. One day you'll be famous like me.
And I love that he says, like, when I was 12, I was a nobody just like you. And he's like, well, I guess even less of a nobody. At least a few people know about you.
Like he's the most famous person in the Wizarding
And
World,
that's
I'm pretty
like,
sure.
I feel like most of the things he says are incredibly ignorant and just obviously self-absorbed. That one, I feel like he's got to be taking a jab at someone who he realizes is technically more famous than him, or at least as famous at 12. Like, he's got to know that Harry Potter is known all over the Wizarding World. And I feel like he has to know that. And then he's just like kind of jealous because this kid is only 12 and didn't have to do anything.
I don't know. I think he might just be in denial. If you lie enough, you like forget what is real.
How do you know that, Christina?
Because I've seen the movie Us and I think about it all the time. Have you guys seen that? Do you know what I'm referring to?
No.
God damn it. Well, all you listeners out there know exactly what I'm talking about.
Honestly, the worst part of this for me was the constant repetition of the Harry, Harry, Harry.
Oh my
Harry,
God.
Harry, Harry.
It's kind of reads like, oh, sweetheart. And it's like, no.
Like, bless her heart in Southern speak. Bless your heart.
Tell me like who, like, are there any other characters that you can think of that are like Gilderoy Lockhart in anywhere in literature?
I would say that Gilderoy Lockhart reads like the introduction we get to Mr. Darcy almost.
But like a little more like shiny and golden. Darcy's like dark Lockhart.
I know.
But like the pompousness.
Yeah, the pompousness, the like stay in your place, the I know what's going on, I know what's better for you kind of deal. You know?
I know there are so many characters like that. And
well, the reason I asked is because I couldn't think of any. I'm like, this guy's so singular.
You could say Littlefinger, but Littlefinger's more smooth.
Oh, Littlefinger's not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And like he doesn't lie about his past, but he definitely like maneuvered to his current status in like a not necessarily straightforward way.
And I'm sure plenty of times he talked himself up in ways that weren't accurate.
Yeah. Okay. Littlefinger, well done.
Okay.
The only other one I've got is deep cut musical reference. There's a musical called The Fantastics that is really quite good. And these parents hire these actors to stage a kidnapping of their daughter so that their son can save her. And it's this whole big thing. And the actors come in being like, oh, we've done this thousands of times. Like, we're absolutely the best people for the job. They have this like a very minor bit part in the overall like show, but they take 100% of the jokes and 100% of the like self-importance from the entire musical. So that's a bit of a deep cut, but if anybody likes The Fantastics,
I'll have to look it up.
I sing it a lot right now because it's got one of the best songs from The Fantastics is called Soon It's Gonna Rain. So every time I see the clouds get all dark, I'm always like, soon it's gonna rain. I can see it. And I'm just kind of like bop around the house.
So wholesome. All right. Well, then Harry gets to go to herbology. They're working on mandrakes, which, as we all know, comes up again later, to say the least.
Foreshadowing.
A mandrake is, quote, a small, muddy, and extremely ugly baby. And, I mean, that's just like a baby, right?
Pretty
Babies
much.
don't usually end up in mud.
They touch everything. What, tzatziki or like boogers, whatever it is.
Tzatziki.
I have trauma with babies and tzatziki, okay?
Apparently.
Well, think about a baby when you pull the mandrake out, pull the baby out. They're both screaming and freaking out and gross. So it's the exact same thing. Then you got to put it in a towel, put it in a new pot, plant it, shut it up, feed it.
Yeah, someone's been to herbology class, Jason.
Yes, I know how to plant some stuff.
He's been there twice.
So, what is that? An inside joke?
No, he just has 2 kids.
Oh. I was like, What is herbology mean in y'all's relation?
And
Okay,
I
I
know
get
how
it,
to
I get
plant things.
Oh,
Your
I'm a
kids are old
gardener.
enough to be cute again.
I got 12 and 13 right now. Well, she'll be 12 in a few weeks. And she's okay. He's an idiot. He doesn't think about anything past a foot in front of his face.
Oh, he's
And
a Gryffindor.
It's aggravating.
He is a Gryffindor. Yeah, he got sorted to a Gryffindor. And Dusty's a Hufflepuff, so my daughter's a Hufflepuff.
It's good for your oldest to be a Gryffindor.
Yeah, but he doesn't really... okay. All right, anyway.
It makes a lot of sense though, because like you said, he like doesn't really pay attention to anything unless it's right in front of him. But as I told someone the other day, I think my sister, I was like, sometimes I get so frustrated with him because he won't get out of his own world and like pay attention to other people and what they might need. But as soon as I yell at him about something and say like, pay attention, like wake up, his apologies are just like so beautiful and sweet and heartfelt. And you can tell that he really did not know and didn't understand.
Until you yelled.
And it's such a Gryffindor thing to be like, oh my God.
Maybe I shouldn't have taken the flying car.
But that's why Gryffindors, even though they're a-holes, they're still so popular and people love them because they can just apologize for it and everyone loves them.
Like a
privilege.
dog.
Like a dog, yes. So true.
Oh,
All right, so they're in herbology class. They're doing the mandrake thing. They are given earmuffs to block the sound, which is not what earmuffs are designed for.
No.
You can get earplugs for that.
Also, I want to know how. I have a couple of questions about mandrakes and the fact that their scream can kill people. So, like, first of all, are these a plant that can grow just anywhere? And can muggles find this plant randomly? Second of all, that's an issue. Second of all, how long did it take for them to figure out to put on earmuffs before pulling one out? Like, how many people died and had no idea why they died?
Wow.
Or just were found in the garden dead.
yeah, wizards have been around for thousands of years, right? So they had it down to a science.
what if they knew exactly what they were doing and it used to be a thing where you were just willing to sacrifice yourself to save your like family and friends from the basilisk? Like you would pick a sacrifice from the village to go pull the mandrake.
Oh my God. There has to be another way.
Yeah,
Oh,
because then they would die whilst just like holding the mandrake. I'm sure they didn't have time to.
Oh yeah, and then the mandrake's just like out in the open.
How hard can it be to break a baby's neck? I don't know that I want that on air.
It's
Oh,
like
if you-
Jesus Christ.
If you like really quick, like yanked it and pop, like slapped it.
She's doubling down on the baby
She
murder.
is.
So what you need to do is plug your ears and then pull the mandrake out with your toes.
I like that Hogwarts composts.
Oh yeah, that's a good point.
That's
Me
nice.
too. Yeah, I mean, they probably don't have a great. Who has to vanish all their trash?
That's what
Ooh,
I'm saying.
House elves.
house elves.
It seems like they're at least repurposing food scraps, so that's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, that is nice. So they're repotting the mandrakes. They meet Justin Finch Fletchley.
Christina,
Yes.
I would really love a discussion about one of my questions, which was these plants that are magical plants. Do they grow? What if do they grow in Muggle land?
True. I think we might need to consult. No, there's no book for this.
I feel like they might fall under the same category as like the dragon hunters that we know that the wizarding world has, where like their whole job is to go around after dragon attacks and like erase people's memory and like Men in Black this shit. So like I could see there being, if there's like, you know, there seem to be at least a couple of departments that has to do with like Muggle wizard interactions and like Muggle protection, basically. I could see there being like a plants and potions division. I want a CSI show of the plants and potions division.
That would be good.
Right. That would have to be like such a strong division. I'm picturing like Men in Black, but for like invasive species. Like my mom's a landscape architect, and her whole life is just plants. And I can imagine some of the discussions she's had about issues with plants and invasive species. And I can't imagine having to hide that from an entire
the general populace.
Too. Right. Yeah.
I don't have a good answer. Like, maybe the only mandrakes out there are domesticated. Maybe only professional herbologists grow them.
Wizards wipe minds all the time, so.
Yeah.
I know. I don't feel like that's a good enough response, just because.
Well, they're like Men in Black. They got people that come out when an incident happens, and they wipe people's minds. They clean up the area. You seen how quick they can flick a wand and clean up a whole room or do the dishes? So what's wrong with cleaning up a catastrophe and then wiping minds?
But that's after like an event or a person, which you can remove from a place. Like a plant, you can try, but you can't really remove an entire species of plant out of a place.
True.
So mandrakes,
I don't know why I'm so upset about this.
So mandrakes are a real plant, Google has just informed me, that exists in a non-magical variety, although equally deadly. It's super poisonous. But if that's the case, then I would say that maybe it's kind of like a GMO scenario, where it's like the wizarding world has like slowly but surely cultivated an ultra potent form of mandrake that they can use for the purposes they need to use it for.
Okay, I can definitely get behind that. So you're saying like these plants are kind of regular Muggle Earth plants that the wizarding world, when in their care, has added magic to. Okay,
yeah,
I like that. Thank you.
They're flick and swoosh.
I was not going to be able to sleep tonight until I got something like that. So thank you so much.
That's my best bet. I'm assuming they have like professional whatchamacallums.
Yeah,
plant peoples.
Botanists.
Got professional plant peoples. Botanists. That was the word I was looking for.
Or
they've got botanists that are just like slowly like enchanting normal plants or like selecting for certain variations to make them into magical potion ingredients.
I like that.
So we meet Justin Finch Fletchley, whose only role in this entire series is to be afraid when Harry comes at him with the parcel tongue in a later chapter.
He also comes out with the really great line of, "And you're Hermione Granger, always top in everything." And I was like, Hermione's the top in their relationship between her and Ron, for sure.
Oh, yeah. I mean, she knows what she wants. She doesn't fuck around. Like, let's just get down to business. I'm not here to play.
Always on top, knows what she wants. She's ready to go.
Adult Hermione. Obviously, they don't have sex until they're over 18.
And married.
Obviously.
And married. When could they possibly have found time to fuck? When they're on the run from Voldemort.
So busy.
Living in a tent together.
That tent that's enchanted and no one else can find it if they don't want them to.
Oh, well, Harry's there too, but
that's okay. Anyways,
so they're fucking with the mandrakes. The babies don't want to come out of the pots. They don't want to go back into the pots. Just classic baby shenanigans. Like, I want to eat the raspberry. And then they eat the raspberry. And then they're like, I want to eat the raspberry again. Not the new raspberry, the old raspberry. Like,
you sound, Christina, every time you talk about a baby, you sound so specific. I feel like you've had multiple traumatizing moments with babies.
Mirabelle! Mirabelle was my okay, I babysat Mirabelle for like 7 years, from the time she was literally like 1 week old until she was plus 5 or 7, however many years I said. I'm still friends with this baby. She's like 8 now. And first of all, she loved tzatziki, which I like. I'm not a big fan of tzatziki. The smell kind of nauseates me. I'm not a little bitch. I'm not going to be like, are you eating tzatziki? But I would feed her tzatziki, and she was like 1 year old. So it would get everywhere, and it would get all up her arms, and it would get in her hair and in her nose. And then I would just be like, bath time, don't touch anything. Yeah, and the raspberry thing is also something that happened. I love that baby. I love that baby. She's 8 now. She's very tall. Okay, so that's the end of her biology class.
Well, in a singularly heartwarming moment, we do get from Justin that the Lockhart books he gave to his muggle mother, and it's the reason she's now okay and excited about him being a wizard, which is just so out of left field heartwarming.
She's okay with him being a wizard and not going to Eton.
I assumed that Eton was like a muggle prep school.
It is, but it's very good. And so, like, it's like a very, I think it's like,
okay.
It's the only high school I have ever heard of in Britain. So it must be quite good. And so I think it probably was hard to convince her that, like, no, I shouldn't go to high school version of Harvard. I should go to this crazy magic school you've never heard of.
That's fair. I also feel like this part with him and his, like, in this chapter, Harry meets 2 random people that, like, just launch into their backstories for no reason whatsoever. No one asked them.
Mm-hmm.
So it's Justin and Colin Creevey. And both of them specifically talk about their muggle lives that they left to come to Hogwarts. So
they probably think Harry gets it.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. I was just thinking of, like, the fact that JK is setting it up for
Muggle sympathizers. She wants us to be a Mudblood sympathizer. God damn it.
Well, plus when everyone at some oh my god. Plus when everyone assumes that Harry at some point, spoiler, is opening the Chamber of Secrets as the heir of Slytherin. And so the fact that it's Colin gets frozen, or excuse me, petrified. And then the fact that everyone thinks that Harry was egging the snake on to attack Justin, and they're both Muggle-born.
Classic. I forget who said this, but this book should be titled Harry Potter in the Wrong Place at the Wrong Time. Like, the entire fucking book, dude. Just stay in your common room.
Or Harry Potter and the information that we didn't ask for and didn't need at the time, and ends up being really important at the end.
That's true, too.
I want to go back real quick, and I'm mad I didn't say it before, but with Professor Sprout, there you go, at how awesome of a teacher she is and how much of a bad bitch she is when she is saying, 4 to a tray, there's a large supply of pots here, compost in the sacks over there, and be careful of the venomous Tictacula. It's teething, as she gave a sharp slap to a spiky, dark red plant as she spoke, making it draw the long feelers that had been inching sneakily over her shoulder. She's pretty aware she's pretty much a bad bitch in that part.
She's a very bad bitch. I love her a lot. We've talked about Professor Sprout before. She's like a stoner McGonagall. Like, she doesn't have, like, the hard assiness, you know what I mean, of McGonagall, but she definitely is, like, all business. Like, she loves what she does.
Yeah.
So after herbology, they go to Transfiguration, where we learn that Ron's wand is not okay. That's really the only thing that happens in Transfiguration. It's not fucking okay.
No, the thing that happens is we get the world's worst pun, which is spellotape.
Oh yeah, that's pretty bad.
Spellotape.
Because Ron is trying to tape his wand together because it's literally broken into, like, 2 pieces.
It's really the worst type of thing to use to fix anything.
Yeah, right. Sellotape's not a good tape to begin with.
They're magic. They don't have good tapes. And then Harry is like, why don't you just write home for another one? Your privilege is showing, Harry.
Okay, Harry knows that his family can't afford that shit. At what point does Harry make the connection that he's like, I'm rich as fuck, I could help?
Yeah, just buy him. God damn it, whatever.
That's like when
Harry still doesn't know how rich he is.
No, that's like when I lived with a roommate in South Carolina, and he spilled some sort of drink on my laptop at the time. At this time in South Carolina, I was making $395 per paycheck. That's every 2 weeks. Anyways, so he spilled stuff on my laptop, and it broke, obviously, and I had to take it somewhere to get fixed. And luckily, it was only like $150 to fix. But at that time, I was like, well, I'm out of a laptop because I can't do that. And this roommate of mine, I asked him to pay for it, and he told me to just ask my parents to give me a new one. Wasn't I going to trying to go to grad school in the fall? Wouldn't they just buy me a new laptop anyways?
Oh
And I was like,
my
no.
God.
I was like so thrown. I just couldn't even. And he was so upset about having to pay for it.
Fuck that guy.
But he did.
Fuck that guy. Oh, God.
Oh, man.
All right. So after Transfiguration, they go to lunch. We note that Hermione has doodled on her schedule around her classes with Lockhart. Do you guys think that this crush is like uncharacteristically silly of her?
I actually love everything about it because this is Hermione acting like a 12-year-old girl instead of the like weird combo authority, disciplinarian, and mother figure that she always has to be to these two same age guys that she pals around with. This is like a nice moment of her behaving like a child of her age. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. At first, Christina, I'm glad you brought it up because at first I was bothered by it because he seems like someone who's definitely not focused on smarts. That I said that really stupidly, but he doesn't seem like someone that she would
He's
initially.
not cerebral.
Yeah, exactly. He's more about the looks and supposed bravery. But I just like that she has these moments where JK lets her be like a regular girl for a little bit. And it kind of makes sense. Like, I would assume if I thought that this guy had done all these things, that he was also really smart and really talented. So it makes sense to me when I thought about it.
Well, and also, like, even really smart bitches occasionally date or have crushes on guys who are just inexcusably dumb.
Oh,
No.
I dated a guy who 2 or 3 months into our relationship, I realized he did not know how to spell my name.
I once slept with a guy who literally, as we were driving around, was like, I'm super into plants. Like, you see those flowers over there? And I was like, yeah. And he goes, I don't know what they are, but man, I see those bitches everywhere.
That was his backup sentence for I'm super into plants.
Yeah,
that was his supporting sentence.
He was like, oh, I know what's going to impress this bitch. I'm going to point out these plants that I see everywhere.
They were probably dandelions.
Those mandrakes right over there. Those mandrakes, just pull them out. And
That's what happened to him in the first place. That's how he got so stupid.
This might actually be too crass for even this podcast, but ultimately the reason I did not go back to his place again was because he had like 2 beers at the bar, like not nearly enough. We get out and he's like, so you don't want to come back to my place? And I was like, no, I really don't think I want to do that. Oh, actually, I had made up that one of my friends was in the hospital. Like, I actually texted a friend to call me out of that date. And that's why you don't hook up with people before you go on the date. But so we're standing outside this bar on a public street and he literally looks at me and goes, are you sure you don't want to come back to my place? Cause like, I'm feeling pretty good and I'm totally drunk enough to lick that shit. Like, yelled it at me in front of a bar on a public street in front of families.
Oh my God. That would either obviously bomb, as it should for any normal person, or really, really work out of just like sheer brazenness.
It's just not rare enough for me to be like, oh,
No.
well, if that's on the table. You know what I mean? Like, it ain't gonna work like that. Anyhow.
For at least 10 minutes. Okay.
That was his Hail Mary.
And he obviously thinks it's very rare if that's what he's going to throw up at the very end, his Hail Mary. It's going to be like, well, I do that. And you're like, yeah.
10 minutes.
Wow.
So anyhow, even smart bitches can go for some real dum-dums.
So, wow. So we're at lunch. Okay. Ron and Harry are just like innocently standing around talking about Quidditch for 10 minutes, which like, I'm not sure exactly what they could be talking about because Ron doesn't play Quidditch and Harry doesn't have any knowledge of like, I guess maybe Ron is like telling him what he missed with like the professional Quidditch circuit over the summer. But Colin Creevy comes up and asks Harry for a picture. I mean, by comes up, I mean he stands there staring at them for like 10 minutes before he gets noticed, and then he feels safe approaching to ask for a picture. He's really quite obnoxious. And then he's like, will you sign the picture?
We do get a deeply awesome piece of lore here, which is that the reason the pictures move is because of a developing potion.
Yes.
And that is so cool. It's not just that magic pictures be magic. It's a special potion that they develop the otherwise regular photos in order to get them to the moving wizard photo state.
Which is cool because it answers a question that I didn't even think to ask in the first place, because we haven't seen any sort of camera or form of taking a picture, whether it's a camera or not. So
yeah. So Malfoy overhears this and is like, oh, are you giving out signed pictures, Harry? Yeah, that guy. Would you like to describe that photograph to our listeners?
Sure. This is a portrait, a 5x7 of Draco Malfoy. And it is a beautiful thing that in our household we have hidden in different people's dresser drawers and, beds and anywhere. And it scares the hell out of us every time we find it. And then about 5 days ago, my daughter put googly eyes on Draco.
It's so good.
It's become the best thing ever. So it sits in the Harry Potter section on my wife's bookshelves with right next to Hermione, and he's googly eyeing her the whole time. So.
Don't you Google my Hermione.
He is Googling her.
He was doing it for all 7 years. Wait. 6. When do they leave? During the summer.
It's
6 years.
6.
Yeah.
But it's a great little, new centerpiece to our household.
It's magnifique.
So but yeah, he's a prick too. So
yeah, he's a prick too. Draco fucking Malfoy comes up and is like, "You giving away signed pictures?" Ron, as always, is just super ready to fight. He says, "Eat slugs." Yikes! Big yikes on that one, because we know how that ends. Next time he says, "Eat slugs." Draco's mocking Mrs. Weasley and quoting the Howler to him. Just really instigating. He also says a signed picture from Harry is worth more than the Weasley's house. So he's like, you better get one, Ron. Yeah, he's really, he's a dick.
You can tell that bitch was so proud of the spellotape thing because she uses it again as an adjective where she's saying that he's whipped out his spellotaped wand. She couldn't have just said taped. She couldn't have just said wand. She's real proud of the spellotape pun. And I just can't let it go.
I might be wrong about this, but I also think in the UK, they don't say tape. They just say sellotape. So I think maybe that's not in her lexicon to just say tape. I will Google this later and add an aside. Indeed, they do say sellotape in the UK, which is the equivalent of the US's Scotch tape. They're both just brands. Yay, capitalism. Okay, so then who fucking approaches now? All these fucking crazy assholes I mean, Colin Creevy's not a crazy asshole, but I'd rather not talk to you. And then Draco, I'd really rather not talk to you. And then for Jesus Christ, Professor Lockhart, fuck off. He hears that Harry's giving out signed photos, worst case scenario. So he swoops in, he saves Harry from this social faux pas. He's like, take a picture of both of us, it'll be worth twice as much. And then I guess he's a 20s gangster trying to sell newspapers or whatever. You and me are worth the front page. So
his turquoise robe.
Yes, very flamboyant. He's gay as hell. I mean, I think that he might be another. I think we talked about this actually. I don't remember who I talked about this with. So many friends, so many episodes, but pretty sure he's a virgin.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah, pretty sure he's a virgin. So gay, I think I don't know if he's actually gay. He presents real gay.
From what I can read, he's in his late 30s, probably early 40s. He's had some kind of sexual encounter at some point, so he knows what he is.
I think he probably in school had some encounters.
I could see him panicking because basically his entire career is if I can perform a memory charm, then my performance anxiety means nothing. And I could see that carrying over.
Oh.
And I can see him, like, his whole thing. We talked about toxic masculinity, like, in one person. His whole thing is he's trying to act like the ultimate wizard, really, and the strongest wizard and all this stuff. So, like, I can definitely see him struggling with any sort of sexuality, even if he's straight, because he suddenly has to perform actually instead of just by words.
Yeah.
I think the saddest possible scenario that is immediately what I think I'm going to go with in terms of my headcanon is that he's probably not out because he makes all of his money off of being this idealized man to women. So I think he sleeps with guys and then memory charms the memory out of them so that his secret will never be exposed.
That makes so much sense. And especially out of the guys who, some of them who actually did these things in his books that he admits later, he memory charmed that out of them so that they wouldn't.
He fucks them, he steals their identity, and then memory charms them.
The ultimate grifter.
Yeah.
You just high dove off the diving board and jumped in the deep end and went way down there. That was crazy. That was good, though.
Well, yeah, that's pretty good. That's pretty good.
Wow.
That's our fan theory of the week.
Because I feel like his agent would never allow him to, like, come out.
Yeah, because Mrs. Weasley would be so sad.
All of the ladies, like, that's the point. Like, his whole persona is built around being this, like, ideal man. He got a lot of female fans.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's move the fuck on now. We're all super sad for his closeted sexuality.
As Lockhart separates Harry from the situation, there's this excellent word choice moment where it says, a word to the wise, Harry, said Lockhart paternally as they entered the building through the side door. I covered up for you back there with young Creevy. If he was photographing me too, your schoolmates won't think you're setting yourself up too much. But the word paternally there, because I think we had talked on a previous episode about the fact that, like, no one's looking out for this kid. Like, part of the issue is that no one is teaching him how to use his fame or how to handle his fame. But also, Harry has no father figure. It is the thing he wants more than anything in the world. And the father figure that's enforcing himself is fucking Lockhart.
Worst case scenario. You're better without a dad.
Yeah, literally.
Yes.
For sure. Well, and I think the term paternally is also it's really performative. Like, I think that Lockhart would be like, I'm doing this paternally.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like he would actually say it out loud.
Yeah, he's like, as your paternal figure right now. Mm-hmm. Let me tell you.
Which is like like in Game of Thrones, if you have to say that you're the king, you're probably not the actual king.
God, that's such a good quote.
I know.
Man, Tywin Lannister is one of my favorite characters in the history of forever.
Same.
So well done. I learned a lot about leadership and power dynamics from him, and I'm not even exaggerating. Okay,
guess what I'm reading?
What? Are you reading Game of Thrones?
Yeah.
Oh my God. Godspeed. It gets harder and harder every book. So Lockhart sweeps Harry away to Defense Against the Dark Arts while giving him this very paternal talk. This is how he starts his Defense Against the Dark Arts class. He points to a book that has his face on it. He says, me, Gilderoy Lockhart, Order of Merlin, 3rd class, honorary member of the Dark Force Defense League, and 5-time winner of Witch Weekly's Most Charming Smile Award. But I don't talk about that. I didn't get rid of the Bandon Banshee by smiling at her. Just the most performative person.
I had immediate aggressive flashbacks to watching 21-year-old guys do their first stand-up set and just failing to look in the face the fact that they're bombing.
Yeah, because right after that he looks around and it's like he like pauses for laughter and a few people are like
and they have to take a 54 question quiz on not anything to do with Defense Against the Dark Arts, just Gilderoy Lockhart.
Yeah, it's a 3-page quiz of general Lockhart trivia. He like is assessing them in front of the whole class, like calling people out for not having the right answers. Hermione's the only person who gets full marks, which I'm glad is not unusual for her. If she was a poor student and this is like the one thing she did right, then that would be weird. But I would expect nothing less from Hermione.
I love that he's not only self-absorbed enough to write a 54-question quiz on himself for the first day, but also most of his questions have double answers. Like, he wants everyone to know not only what he puts as his answer, but his actual answer too. Like, so many things have a double answer. Like, ideal birthday gift, harmony between all magical and non-magical peoples, but also a bottle of Ogden's Old Fire whiskey. And then what was the other what was the other question? Oh yeah, Miss Hermione Granger knew my secret ambition is to rid the world of evil and market my own range of hair care potions.
It's like a beauty pageant.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's like the right answer and then like the real answer.
Mm-hmm.
It's worth noting it's not a secret ambition if it's written in a book and then subsequently able to be answered as a question on a quiz.
That is a great point.
Man, I can just see him writing though, like, reading one of his books where he's like, and my most secret, most important, held to the chest ambition is just world peace. But also I would love to start a hair care line. Like
your tone was perfect. That was perfect delivery.
Thank you.
Okay, so then he whips out the pixies. Am I okay? He brings out the pixies. Why is like pisky in my brain right now?
It's because that's the spell.
You'll get to it, and I want to talk about that. But
so he brings out the pixies in a cage. He says, quote, "No harm can befall you whilst I am here." Sure. They're little blue pixies. They sound like budgies, which I had to Google. It's a cute little Australian bird. Very cute. And he lets them go and they wreck the classroom.
I love Dean Thomas and Seamus Finnegan in this part because they're such a they're just like such a consistently,
they're like fuckboys.
Yeah, they're such a consistently funny couple of fuckboys, like through all the books, and they're just so funny in this part because I could just picture them giggling up at the front of the classroom.
Yeah, they're in the front of the class, and it says at one point that I think Seamus's shoulders are shaking with laughter. Like, how do you the audacity? Harry Potter and the audacity of this bitch. I think that's a Facebook group. That's beautiful. I love that. I didn't imagine it's a Facebook group, but it wasn't me. If you've seen the movie, the scene is probably vivid in your mind. The pixies wreck the classroom. In the movies, they hang up Neville to the chandelier by his robes.
That happens in this one too.
It does. Okay. Yeah, they're just generally wrecking shit. So then Lockhart does the spell Pesky Pixie Pesteromi, which it sounds like a spell that Fred and George would give to Ron to try to prank him before he goes to Hogwarts.
Yeah, I just want to break that down for a second because it's just like so clearly it can't be accurate. Pesky Pixie, that one's obvious. Pester no me. Like, pester no me. Like, don't pester me. Like pesky pixie, don't pester me. It's like just too right.
It's like that bitch's Latinate spells are not subtle, but like this is really next level.
Yeah.
This has got to be a deeply traumatizing moment for Neville because around this time last year, he also had a fall from an iron chandelier in the Quidditch scenario. So this has got to be just like one of those moments where history is repeating himself and he's like, it's deja vu. It's the worst deja vu. I'm hanging again. It's happening again.
It's a tradition. Neville.
I feel like he's so resigned. I was going to say this earlier in the part with the Howler, that Neville is already at the age of, I'm assuming 12, he's already so resigned to just being that guy every time that gets treated the worst in any situation.
Oh, it's good though for his mental health to just accept that this is.
Is it good? Is it good for him at this point, or is it?
I don't know.
Traumatizing? I don't know.
It can be both.
I guess
so apparently Lockhart does not even know real spells. Why did Dumbledore hire him?
What do you guys think about that spell? Because I'm assuming that, I don't know, I'm probably assuming too much, but I'm assuming that before he started saying that spell, or before he brought out the pixies, that he had this spell in mind, that he had some sort of exit game decided in his mind. But this spell is obviously fake, so where did he get it from? Did he think it was real?
Maybe he thinks he's like inventing spells or something. Like that's how good he is.
I could see that.
I think he was hoping somebody else would cover up for him and get it done. And he was like, well, this is out of hand, so let me just try this crap. And it didn't work.
It's all part of the facade.
Yeah. He's an idiot.
He's like, I'll act like I know what to do. And then luckily Hermione Granger's in this class and she'll save my ass, which she does. The pixies take Lockhart's wand and he flees, which is like pretty much like the worst thing you can do when you have children in your care is like leave them with dangerous animals and leave. They've
already killed a troll by this point.
That's true. They're more than capable. So Hermione immobilizes them with a freezing charm and puts them back in their cage very easily. She says, he just wanted to give us some hands-on experience. And to me, this is, I get like this. I'm going to ask again, do you think she's being silly?
I would imagine at this point that she is, I'm definitely assuming this because it's not in the book in anywhere. But I would assume at this point that she knows maybe a little bit that he's full of shit and that she's starting to believe it, but she's defending him because she still doesn't want to think that he's making all this stuff up.
I would say furthermore, aside from the like Lockhart effect, I think Hermione's so predisposed to trust her professors and has a lot of reverence for every single professor at Hogwarts. So I think that's like a compounding reason why she's like, well, not only is it this dude, but like he's a professor. And if he's a professor and he's this dude, then surely this is fine.
She likes authority for sure. The chapter ends with Ron being the first person to insinuate that Lockhart perhaps has not done all that he says he has done, which good on you, Ron. It's funny that Hermione's being a little silly and Ron's being a little serious.
Yep, just a little dollop of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I feel like Ron is a goofy character too, and like I feel like when goofy characters are forced to be serious, they can call out other goofy characters. Like I don't know, they're better at calling out other people who also bullshit.
Yeah,
maybe sometimes.
Like I see you, I know what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he knows.
Guys, look at my hair right now. It looks like I have like a nice boy haircut. I realize the hairstyle to which I refer here is absolutely not a boy hairstyle, but more of a lovely short hairdo that looks incredible on a lot of people of all genders. I'm sorry for gendering fecklessly. I considered cutting that part out, but it leads into a fun conversation. Besides, I think it's important to be transparent about the fact that I, like a lot of other people, am still learning, or really unlearning. So thank you for bearing witness to my unlearning. I'd be a cute boy. Look at me.
Oh my God, so cute.
You're like kind of sporting a low-key Draco, though.
Oh, I'm into it. Like, I'm not mad.
Let's bring Draco back one more time. He's got more of it going. He's got more of it
slick
going
back.
Yeah, I think I look more like a Justin Finch Fletchley.
I don't know. I think you're like
curlier.
seventh book late stage Draco. He ends up with a mid part, like an aggressive.
He gets like
mid-part.
actual adult hot, and I'm pretty sure the actor was 18 by then, so I'm allowed to say that.
No, I said earlier everybody was picking on Neville. He got picked up by the Pixies and whatnot, but that is one of the biggest glow ups of a lifetime right there, huh? He turns out pretty good at the end.
Yeah, the background on my phone used to be that actor in just underwear. I'm not afraid to say it, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Fairly recently, Tom Felton, which is the actor that plays Draco, who did not age gracefully. His hair got real thin. He's still trying to cling to it. It's not great.
Macaulay Culkin.
No. Yeah. Oh, I thought you were asking if that's who it was. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
I still love Macaulay Culkin. I've always loved him.
An equivalent glow down, though.
Yeah.
But he posted a picture of him standing next to a photo of him in the Harry Potter movies and was like, man, like, don't you just like wish for those days again? And the guy who plays Neville Longbottom,
Matt Lewis, my darling,
responded with a picture of him being like, no, not really, like literally shirtless in his yard, just like flexing.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's beautiful.
All right, we're at the end of the chapter. Does anyone have any like last words about the chapter? Anything to say? Cool.
Okay, all right. Well, I'll say something. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I would love to come back and talk about another chapter sometime, so invite.
Hell yeah. It was a pleasure having you. I knew that you were the right person to come on and talk about that prick, Gilderoy
What a
Lockhart.
prick, dude. He's fucking horrible.
And it only gets worse.
True.
Da, da, da.
Let's move to some plugs. Brooke, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so this week I want to plug one of my absolute favorite comedians. His name is Ray O'Leary. He's a New Zealand comedian. He's on a panel show in New Zealand called Have You Been Paying Attention? You can find him on Instagram at I am Ray O'Leary. O'Leary is spelled Oleary. And he's incredibly deadpan, so funny. I don't know a single person that doesn't appreciate his comedy. He's definitely worth checking out. You can find me at Passion for Parks on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Grumpy Brooke. I'm making an effort to tweet so that it's worth it if you follow me on Twitter. And also be on the lookout soon for the new podcast that I will be hosting for our network, Movie Night Crew Network, called The Cringe Cast. That's still in production, but we should have it out to you really soon. We're really super excited about it.
Hell yeah. Mary-Peyton, your turn.
So I wasn't looking forward to this part of the podcast because I'm still reading what I plugged last time, which was, I don't even know how long ago, The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. And I do still like that book, but it's like so thick and I've had so much work to do that I am just slow on it. I still plug it. It's still great, but it's a very detailed, involved mystery. And so it's the kind of thing you really should read if you can read it in big chunks. And I'm almost done with it. It's taken me so long. I think that's all I can plug, honestly. Please follow me at Richmond Reads on Instagram. I've got a little quiet when there were, there was still a lot of Black Lives Matter protests happening because it felt suddenly not as important as a lot of the things that were happening in the world. So I'd still appreciate your follow. And I've started to re-pick it back up again, and with a bit more of a mind for authors of color and more of the books that really affect our world, especially since it's Richmond Reads, and I want to be more attentive to what the community needs around me. So I'd appreciate your follow at Richmond Reads. But God, that's, like the only book that I could really plug is that one.
That's all right. You don't have to keep defending yourself. Your plug's gone on for a really long time.
I'm so sorry. I should have thought about it ahead of time. Go ahead.
You did great. That was great. All right, Jason, what do you got?
Well, like I said, I'm reading Game of Thrones. I'm going to keep plugging away at that. I'm on book 1. Ned, he's not looking like he's going to last too much longer. But, everyone loves Ned. That's about it. I appreciate you having me on. And I hope I can be back on again.
Hell yeah. So I have been your host, Christina. You can follow me on Instagram at YaGirlOfTheWorld. You can follow me on Twitter at Tina Fontina. I, too, am becoming more active on Twitter. I made my first viral tweet yesterday. I tweeted a quote from another podcast that I like, so it was not even my own original content, and they retweeted it, and it's gotten 100 likes. So basically, I'm famous now. Woohoo! I, too, have been reading the same book for 100 years, so I'm going to plug one of my friends. I'm going to plug my friend, Nic. She is on social media. What's her platform? She's just hot and fun. She loves making new friends. Her handle on Instagram and Twitter is Thick Lizzie McGuire, and when you look her up, you'll see why. She's an angel, she's a ray of light, and I recommend following her for body positivity and pastel colors.
I follow her too, and I can fully support what you're saying right now.
She very recently followed her on all platforms, and it has been a real burst of rainbows in the middle of my feed every day.
Yeah, exactly. She doesn't listen to Harry Potter. She doesn't listen to this podcast. She will never, ever hear this. She is going to be on a bonus episode, though, because we needed someone who has never heard anything about Harry Potter before. So if you would like to hear thick Lizzie McGuire, my girl Nic, then definitely subscribe to our Patreon. With that being said, could you all please kindly get the fuck off of this Zoom call?
No, fuck you. Taking over.
Please be sure to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod. You can find us on Twitter at Restricted Pod. You can find us on patreon.com/The Restricted Section to get access to bonus episodes, exclusive social media content, monthly bookmarks, and Zoom chats with the gang. You can also find us on Facebook. Our Facebook page is The Restricted Section Podcast, and our Facebook group, which is a ton of fun, is called The Restricted Section Detention Crew. So I look forward to seeing you there. The Restricted Section was created and hosted by me, Christina Kahn, based on the book series by J.K. Rowling. All music by Ryan Kahn. Logo by Michael Hardison. Technical support from Sean Watson. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram at Restricted Section Pod, or shoot us an email at restrictedsectionpod@gmail.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feelings, complaints, conspiracy theories, or lavish praise.
I had actually planned on making a drink, but I had a hard time thinking of one to make. So I called my sister, who is a bartender, and she's the one, my sister Kelly, she's the one who watched the second movie for the first time last night with us. And so I was like, okay, so the chapter is called Gilderoy Lockhart. I was like, do you remember him? She's like, oh yeah. And I was like, what kind of drink would you make for him? She goes, so he's supposed to be gay, right? And I was like, well,
yeah. I mean, yeah.
They never say it, but I think you obviously feel very strongly about that.
He's gayer than Dumbledore.
Yeah, that's for damn sure.
So she was like, what about like a vodka spritzer? And I was like, say no more.
Yeah, that sounds great. Light and fruity.
Right?